my father certainly fueled the love of the game with me. But the only man that I ever worked for was Don Haskins at the University of Texas, El Paso. And I was very fortunate to get an opportunity there at the age of 22. I was the youngest assistant coach in the country. And this was a man that had won a national title, a Hall of Fame coach. And he just kind of grounded me in what I needed to think about. We were at a tough place in El Paso, Texas, where kids didn't normally grow up wanting to go to school in El Paso, Texas. So we would have to modify what we did basketball-wise with our offense. According to what this player could do, we couldn't recruit a player to a system. We'd have to change what we did offensively to fit what the player could do, but never really deviated defensively or discipline-wise in terms of how guys should act and how hard they should play. And really, it's not that much went into it. I just always relied on what that man told me through the years, and would get together with him until the time he died every preseason and visit. So that's pretty much the foundation of it. I sent my resume to Coach Maestri, not knowing that he was going to publish them in the newspaper. And they were trying to create interest in the job, trying to create interest with a fan base. This is the new candidate, this is the new candidate. I didn't know that. It was pre-social media. And when you're coaching at a place, you don't want those people thinking you're going someplace else. So I remember getting a phone call from Dave Bowling with the Spokesman Review in Spokane, Washington. He said, "Hey, do you have any interest in the New Orleans job?" And I learned a great lesson that if the media ever asks you a question, they already know the answer. I said, "Oh, absolutely not. I love, Moscow, Idaho. I want to be a Vandal till the day I die, et cetera, et cetera." They offered the job to Dwayne Casey, who was at the University of Kentucky. And a Federal Express envelope opened up with $1,000 in cash from Kentucky to a prospect in Los Angeles while he was on campus about to accept the job. So they had to go to Plan B and said, "Dwayne, we can't hire you." Chris Berman from ESPN gave us a nice plug. I called Chris and he gave us a nice plug on ESPN. And because nobody knew who I was, nobody knew what was going on at the University of Idaho. And I think that all of those things really contributed to us getting the opportunity. As I got off the plane was Ron Maestri. In those days, it was pre-metal detectors, and they walk out to the gate, and there was this guy with white swept back hair and a shirt unbuttoned to about right here with a couple gold chains. And I thought, man, this guy looks scary. You're not around a lot of Italian guys in those days in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or El Paso, or Moscow, Idaho. And he just fired Art Tolis, who'd won 21 games in his first year. So I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And it's crazy how perceptions can be so false, because Ron Maestri was by far the best boss that I ever had. That's why I didn't want to leave here, was because of Ron Maestri. So many big games that we played in. As a coach, I think I only remember the losses. They're the ones that jump out at you. The great year we had, I think we were 26-2. I remember the two losses to Arizona in our arena, sold out here at UNO. They were number 2 in the country. Purdue, we lost to Arizona by 2. We lost to Purdue by 1. Purdue was number 1 in the country, and they had Glenn Robinson, played them in the Superdome. Great crowd. But I remember the losses. I remember big wins, at Virginia, ranked team, at Florida State, ranked team. I remember playing the Oklahoma State's home and home, Florida State's home and home, Virginia home and home, Notre Dame in this building, Mississippi State in this building, Texas A&M in this building, Memphis in this building. And that was all because of Ron Maestri. He got it. He understood it. And I've always said that, coaches can win games, but it takes administrations to win championships. And We had we were at the right time in the right city, and with great fortune and a great fan base. It means so much. It was the most enjoyable time of our career, and we had many other stops. And the reason it was enjoyable was because of the support that we had. It was enjoyable because we were building something from scratch. It was enjoyable because I had a vision that any urban job could be as great as any other urban job, and that Marquette, DePaul, Louisville, Cincinnati, Xavier, St. Louis University, University of Houston, UCLA. There was no reason why we couldn't be any of those places. We had the talent base, we had the arena, and so it was. I worked harder than I've ever worked while we were here, but we got so much out of it because of the young men that ended up playing for us. We had great fortune with some players that were better than what we thought they were going to be. Great fortune with guys that maybe came in as knuckleheads that grew up while they were here. Great fortune because of evaluations of our assistant coaches on guys that were so much better than what others thought they were going to be. And great fortunes with some parents who trusted us on great players who came as well. So, and then we had so much fun in the city. But New Orleans and the university were arguably the most enjoyable times of our career. Beverly is the greatest coaching wife, the greatest wife that a man could have. She was there when I wasn't there for our daughter. She got it. She understood it. She just bounced from town to town to town to town, made new friends, figured out what the local women did, got involved. Not an athletic bone in her body, but joined the bowling team in Iowa. So she'd meet some gals up there because they all bowl in Iowa, but never complained. And every job I got was the result of her going on the interview with me, because the ADs really liked Beverly a lot more than they liked me. Mike Bujo, Ed Cassiere, who was without a doubt the best SID I ever had, PR guy ever. Mike Dunauer. Our secretaries were unbelievable. But mainly the players. I mean, just the players that we had. These guys, so proud of who they've become and what they've done. You know, the first class, Luigi Dyer, Leonard Bennett. We bring in Irvin Johnson. We go right across the board with Mike McDonald, Sidney Rice, Melvin Simon, two of the most talented wing players I ever coached, Tony Harris and Tank Collins. Great players, great players. We had a guy named Fred Hill who runs Archbishop Newman's facilities. Worked at Superdome for years. Great guy, great all-around teammate. We're just blessed with Cass Clark, a little 5'7" guard, just could really play. Gerald Williams really play. These teams were as talented as any teams that I ever coached, and they were all right here in the area. They were underneath every pine tree as soon as you got out of town, about 20 miles, and a lot of them didn't have a lot of opportunities other than Melvin, but I love those guys, and they were terrific, and I think that they loved their experience here like we did.